Right, let's crack on. Right, first of all, welcome to Lunch and Learn. I've got a couple of people in the room that haven't been before, so let me explain briefly what Lunch and Learn is. It is almost our opportunity just to give back to local businesses, directors, marketeers, invite them on a call and give them a bit of an insight into the world of 146, what we do on a daily basis, but more so the work we do. So we'll pick a topic. Today's topic is all around creating best on the web content, talking to what that is, why it's important, and some of the stuff we do to create that. So it's all around SEO, basically. It's about getting your website ranking on Google. So we'll go into that. And so we pick a topic, we talk about it, we give you some actionable advice that you can apply within the business. I always say if you can go away, kind of take home one thing from this webinar, then that's our job done. Yeah, so that's Lunch and Learn. We used to do it in person. We used to have about, I think at one point we had 60, 70 people in a room in Northampton on Moulton Park. And since COVID, we've gone online. It's a little bit easier for us. Yeah, especially considering I totally forgot about today. And Rebecca messaged me at 10 o'clock. Why aren't you in the office? We're supposed to be doing lunch and learn. I was like, oh, God, yeah, I forgot about that.
I think I do the work, the prep work.
Yeah. So good job we know. Well, today's Lunch and Learn is a true test of do we know what we're talking about? Because I haven't really done prep work. Bex has. I haven't done a lot of prep work. But to be honest, this is probably one of the most comfortable topics for me because this is our day-to-day work. So it's a big tester today. So welcome to Lunch and Learn. Let me just skip through. So I'm Dave. I founded 146 back in 2011. I get involved a lot from a strategy perspective. A lot of our work nowadays is web and SEO and ads. We also do social media work. It's not something I have a lot of involvement in, but a lot of my work is SEO and kind of the strategy behind that, how we approach that, and the team help me to work on those projects. We've got a variety of clients from local charities to training providers to signage manufacturers, all sorts, legal companies. We do a lot of work in the legal environment. So that's me. I've also got a couple of other companies as well. Over to Rebecca.
I'd say hello.
Oh, you're not on. Oh, yeah, come on around.
Hello, I'm Becca. I work at 146 as well. I do our marketing internally, and also I've got some clients that I look after as well. So I like doing the SEO stuff, but I do some socials and some website stuff as well. So yeah, hello. Enjoy the webinar today.
And in the time that it's taken for her to go from there to here, her hair has changed from yellow to green. It's almost like a bluey green, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's Rebecca. Now, I'm going to add this in here. This webinar is totally free. We don't charge for it, but we do at the end of the webinar send over a link to a Cynthia Spencer Just Giving page. If you wanted to, we don't check. There's no expectation, but if you wanted to donate, what would be a ticket fee, whether it's £2, £5, £20, whatever you wanted, to support Cynthia Spencer. We like to mention it because A, it gives them a bit of brand awareness for any future campaigns that they might be running, but also it helps to raise money for them. So that one's up to you. Anyway, coming on to our topic today, creating best on the web content. So we've been on a little bit of a journey with our Lunch and Learn since the start of the year. We kind of took it upon ourselves to tackle SEO and go through the different elements of SEO that we cover when we take a client on board, and the different elements of SEO that we believe are important, because there are hundreds of ranking vectors, some that carry more weight than others. And what we've been through is some of the key ones. Okay. Now, I wanted to backtrack a little bit to last month's Lunch and Learn. And on last month's Lunch and Learn, we talked about the 4 fundamentals for a high-performing site. And when I talk about a high-performing site, it's from a search perspective. So what are the 4 fundamentals for a high-performing site? Number 1, it is having a good site, a technically sound site. It's quick, It works on mobile. There's no 404 errors. There's a number of different elements that come into having a technically good site. Number 2 is the trust factor. It's making sure that your site is trustworthy. Google reviews stack up. If you've got Trustpilot reviews, they stack up. Facebook reviews, they stack up. So it's having a trusted website, and Google will look for that. Number 3 is links from other websites to your websites. We refer to them as backlinks, and we run link building campaigns where we try and get links from other sites onto your site, and that helps to, again, build trust. But number 4, which is one of the most important things, in fact, the 2 most important things is number 3 and number 4, backlinks and content. Content is king. So the 4 fundamentals of a high-performing site: having a technically sound site, the trust factor, Google reviews generally, having links from other sites through to your site, so backlinks, and content. And today we're going to be talking about content, and more specifically how you can create the best content on the web. So what is best on the web content? What do I mean by best on the web content? I mean, it is what it is. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's content that's the best on the web, essentially. How else would you explain that? I kind of paused there for a second. I'm thinking, how else do I explain best on the web content?
It's authoritative. It's correct. It's trustworthy. It's helpful. Google put a big a heavy weight on content being helpful for them to consider it to be really good. So helpful content is definitely one of those elements making it the best.
Absolutely, and that explains it better than I do. But all of that, but more so than anyone else. Yeah. And that's what best on the web content is. All of your content should be helpful, trustworthy, relevant. But the best on the web content is all of that, but better than the rest of the stuff that's out there. The internet is so busy nowadays with content. Not every, but most websites out there are creating content in some form. A lot of them are creating articles, new pages, blogs, webinars, all this jazz that sits on a website, and you need to stand out. So the way to stand out is to make your content as good as possible, as trustworthy, as relevant, as readable, as useful. And by doing that, it won't just be Google that recognizes it and ranks you higher for certain relevant search terms, but the user's going to find it more relevant as well. So they are going to visit it. They are going to spend more time on it, looking at it. And then it's kind of this constant loop, because they're doing that. Google's going to rank it higher, which means they're going to visit it more. Google's going to rank it higher, and it goes through this continual loop. So what is best on the web content? It's all of that, but better than everything else. That makes sense.
Better than your competitors, at least.
Better than your competitors. Why is it important? Well, this is quite simple, really. You want your content to get found. And if you want your content to get found, it's important that it is as good as it can be. And when it's as good as it can be, if it's better than everything else on the internet, over time, and it will take time, it can take up to 12 months in some scenarios. Over time, it will appear higher than the rest, because it will attract more attention. Other people will link to it. So that feeds back to my third point earlier. You'll get people linking to that content, and it'll just get noticed more. So Google will start to rank it more, and people will read it, and they'll spend more time on that page. So one of the minor ranking factors that Google takes into account is how long someone spends on a particular web page. So if someone visits your web page, whether it's from Google, from social, and they spend a second on it and navigate back off, that's going to de-rank you. It's going to be negative, which is why it's really important that your content is instantly relevant. That's when we talk about headlines. You know, how relevant is the headline? How relevant is stuff above the fold? So before you start scrolling. And if it is, people will spend more time on it. If people start to spend a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes actually reading your content, Google is going to rank it higher. And that is how that works. So why is it important? It's important because the better your content is, the higher Google is going to rank it, and the more it's going to get seen. It's that simple.
The more value it gives.
More value.
Yeah.
Yeah, it carries with it. So this applies in terms of having and creating best on the web content. This applies to everything you put on your website, whether it's pages, articles, blogs, case studies, whatever that might be. It's all interlinking, because something that, let's say a case study may not rank within its own right, but it can be useful across other areas of the website to help other content rank. So creating best on the web content applies to both pages, articles, blogs, case studies, FAQs, whatever it might be. Make sure it's the best that it can be. So we're going to break this down, and we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about pages, and we're going to talk about articles. So first of all, making your pages the best on the web, because there are some similarities between making your pages the best and making the articles the best, but there's a few differences as well. So I want to break this down separately, and I've highlighted pages here because I copied the slide. So I thought, oh, I'll copy the slide, make it easy, because the next thing is going to be making your articles the best on the web. So I've highlighted that just to keep it on track. So how can we make your web pages the best on the web? And by web pages, I mean things like your service pages, your home page, those pages more so, because other pages, things like your about us, your team page, accreditations, they're not going to rank as highly. Generally, they're not going to rank as highly depending on the business, but they will still play a part. So it is important that you make those relevant, good, the best on the web as well, but they won't play as big a part. But I'm talking more so about service pages, product pages, homepage, that sort of thing. So let's talk about how you can make your pages best on the web. So first of all, parent and child page. I was supposed to include a diagram in this, Rebecca, which you said to me about 40 minutes ago. You said, why don't you include a diagram that I designed on a blog post? And I did not. I forgot to put it in because I got tied up with the job I was doing.
I'll
so
put it in the group chat.
You're going to put it in the group chat. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So there is a diagram to go with this. A really simple diagram. Parent and child pages. So what do I mean by this? In fact, once Rebecca gets the diagram into, here we go. Right. So parent and child pages. So, sorry, 2 seconds. I'm just opening it so I can refer through to it. So if you open the thing that Rebecca has put in the actual chat, this kind of explains what a parent page is and what a child page is. So we do a lot of work in the legal industry with lawyers and solicitors. So we've made this relevant for them. And in that particular industry, in the legal industry, a parent page would be, for example, a page that talks about family law. But family law has a number of offshoots. It has kind of child law pages. It has divorce pages, how you can sell your home after you've been divorced, cohabitation and prenuptial agreement pages, marital finance pages, injunctions pages, case studies. There's loads of kind of child pages that can feed off of that main page that is all about family law. So this is why parent pages and child pages are really important, because in your parent page, you can talk about the fundamentals of family law. You can talk about what you do as a legal company, as a solicitors, and you can break it down in the briefest of terms into divorce, cohabitation, prenuptial, marital finances, child matters, things like that. But then you can link to child pages that talks about those specific instances in detail, about those specific services in detail. And that's why parent and child pages are really important. So, for example, another example is the service we provide. So on our website, we build websites. And on our website, we've got a web design page, and it talks about the different websites we can build and the different services we've got relatable to building websites. And then off of that, we have a page dedicated to WordPress websites. We have a page dedicated to bespoke websites like CRMs. And we have a page dedicated to maintenance and hosting. So we can go into far more detail on those pages whilst maintaining a positive UX, user experience, by being a little bit briefer on the actual parent page. Because when I'm talking about web design, I want to talk about web design in general, and then I want to break it into the different types of web design we do. If I was to do that on one page, the page is going to be huge and people aren't going to get a very good user experience. Plus, it also confuses the user and Google as to what it is that page represents. But if you detail it in brief and then break it down into some of those key child pages and go into detail on those child pages, that's going to work far better for you. So think about how you can better structure your website with parent and child pages, because it enables you to go into more detail. Google is going to find your content more relevant, which is really important, and you're going to get found better. You can focus on, when you're looking at certain keywords, you can focus on specific clusters of keywords for a very specific niche if you're using parent and child pages. So in this instance, when we're talking about marital finances, we're able to create content purely around marital finances on a page, rather than diluting the message on the family law page, because people search for different things. So that diagram is really useful, Rebecca. Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Parent and child page is really useful. Right.
Can I add? I think it's also really helpful for planning your content as well. So if you know you've got this main page that has your services on it, and you're thinking like, what can I possibly add? Thinking about the structure and planning it, so breaking it down into smaller sections and working on one of those pages for a little while and working on another page another month, or having it like working on your content according to the structure of the child and parent pages. So like that can be quite helpful. I find that helpful if I'm planning an SEO strategy and I've got that I'm adding child pages to, knowing the topics that I'm going to work from that come off the parent page. So you can also use it as a way of planning what you're going to add in as well, planning how everything interlinks, and then that also helps you make sure that you're linking your relevant blogs or other pages to the right pages that you want people to find your way. So if someone found a blog about like the Guide to Injunctions blog, then they know from there's links on there to the relevant injunctions page of services on this legal website, and then from there they would look up family law and there'd be contact details and stuff on there. So it just helps users navigate better too.
So thank you, Rebecca. So the next point is about linking in the specific team. So again, this is all about creating the best content on the web. And what we're trying to do now is give you examples of the type of content you can include to make it the best content on the web. Because a lot of businesses will, when they come to producing content, a set piece of content, and if we would say to them, right, your target is 2,500 words, let's just say as a figure plucked out of midair, they will sit there and they'll think, how the hell am I going to create 2,500 words on family law? Really difficult. When you break it down into specific elements, then it's so much easier. So we've already broken it down into having a parent page. Then on that parent page, you can discuss some of the, in kind of short form, some of the specific child pages that you also have. You can also link in the specific teams. So what we do on a lot of the legal sites that we work on, because in the legal industry, and this might not apply to every business, but in the legal industry, you will have specific solicitors and lawyers looking at specific areas. So you will have a family law team. So what we do is we have a section on there that introduces a member or the team for family law. So then what you're doing is you're getting very specific and relevant on that page, which is what the user and Google wants to see. It also lends to a good lends to a positive user experience, because if the user then reaches out to that solicitor or to that lawyer and makes an inquiry, then they're likely to speak to the person on that page. So you've instantly broken down those barriers. They already know who that person is. So it lends to a really positive user experience. So if you can, if your industry or your company allows, link in the specific person that would be dealing with that particular service. So for example, it's something we could do on our website, actually. On our SEO page, we could link in Rebecca or Chloe or me or someone within the team.
It works in
that's
quite a few
different.
industries, actually.
Does, yeah.
Anyone that provides a service with front-facing people who are the ones that are going to be using that you're using that service from anyway, adding them to the web page gives a bit more credentials to the information that's on there.
Absolutely. And it's about creating relevant content. Next one, add frequently asked questions. This is an absolute must because a lot of the content that is asked on Google are questions. A lot of the stuff that I put into Google, it is a question. So by adding frequently asked questions, and we'll tell you towards the end how you can find those frequently asked questions, but by adding them into your web page, being specific about the web page you're on and answering them, that's really good content. So when people are Googling that kind of stuff, you're more likely to show up because you're answering a specific question. So find out what those questions are that your customers, your potential customers, your users visiting your website are asking, and try and answer them as simply and as best as possible. And later on, we're going to give some kind of inspiration, insights into how you can find out those frequently asked questions. So normally at this stage, I'm saying that because normally at this stage, Rebecca will jump in and say, you can do that, yeah, which is really helpful, but I want to leave it till the end. Otherwise, I'll have nothing for the end. So I've kind of put that one to bed straight away. So add in frequently asked questions as well for every single service, every single page you can add in. Cover the topic in depth. Now, this is quite obvious, but also quite key. You need to make sure that if you're creating a page on marital finances, again, linking back to the legal industry, if you're creating a page on marital finances, you need to make sure you cover that topic in depth. You want to make sure there's enough content that gets your point across, but you also need to make sure there's a fine balance between enough words, but it needs to be clear. So it needs to be laid out in such a way where it's very easy to read for the user, because user experience is key. And this links me back again to when the user hits your website, if they stay on your website for a longer period of time, Google is going to like that. So when you look at the amount of time that someone's spent on a web page, the higher, the better, within reason. If they're bouncing off quite quickly, that's quite poor. So you need to make sure that you cover the topic in depth, but it gets across your point quite quickly. Now, one of the ways we do this, a quick tip, is when you imagine you've got a section of content that is answering a specific question, you've got that that header. It might be a H1, maybe H1 text or H2 text, or even H3 text. Usually, you would then put in a couple of paragraphs worth of content. One of the great things to do is have a line between your header text and your paragraph text that is paragraph text. It's maybe highlighted in bold or italic, and it covers that point really quickly. So if someone wants to read that entire paragraph or two, they can do. But if someone is like me, that consumes content quite quickly and they want to get to the point quite quickly, having that simple one or two liner that gets across that point instantly and summarizes that entire paragraph or two is going to aid their user experience. And when people are hitting the website, if they can see content like that and they can clearly see it's going to answer their question quite quickly, they're more likely to stay on the page. So there's a bit of a fine balance in terms of covering your topic in depth, but also making sure that it is displayed simply enough to get that point across.
So you can also add bullet points in. You can add video clips. So if you're thinking about covering it in depth, but also about the different ways people consume and understand and making it accessible, if you did just fill the page with 3,000 words on marital finances, they're probably going to fall asleep before they get to the end anyway, which is why. So Dave said adding a summary, you can add in the bullet points, you can add in a visual diagram, you can add in a video of someone explaining it in a different format. So you're covering it not only in depth, but you're reaching people in different ways as well and making it easy to access for everyone.
If we come back to great example of this is TikTok. So when TikTok was launched, it was almost, and YouTube Shorts followed, it was the start of users need to consume short form information. And that's how TikTok works. People want to consume 15, 20-second videos as opposed to 3 or 4 minute videos. We run another company in Northampton called Northampton Life, and we had an event last Thursday, the NL Awards, incredibly successful. A few people might have heard of it. And we ran some content there with a chap called Nick, who runs a content agency. He set up and ran some content in collaboration, and he contacted me the next day, and this says it all. He contacted me and said, I'm not sure on the video, it's quite long, and it was 2.5 minutes. Now 2.5 minutes isn't long, however in this day and age it is. 2.5 minutes in this day and age is really long
for some people,
but it depends on whether you capture their attention with the content that you're producing. And here's content captured the attention of the users that wanted to see it, and we've had thousands, approaching 10,000 views now on this content, which is incredible. It just, for the event we had, that content just summed it up so nicely, and having 2.5 minutes of it, almost 3 minutes of it, worked really well. But it has to be, it's got to hit home. It's got to be the right moment. A lot of people don't want to consume information that is that long. So you've got to provide content and context to every user, to the user that doesn't want to explore long form content and prefer short form content. But also there are in equal measure, there are people out there who want to consume long form content as well as short form content. So it's kind of providing those options to each.
So for an example, it would be someone who is thinking about divorce and interested in the financial side of it, but just wants to kind of skim over it. And then the other person, and then that person 2 months down the line, who's definitely sure they need a divorce and they really want to research this project now. And the content has spoken, the short kind of content for them has really helped them in the first instance. And then when they need that more in-depth side of it, they can go back and they would still get that information.
You're not thinking about divorce, are you?
God, can you imagine? This is how I announce it on a webinar.
Luckily, Simon's not on the webinar.
Ugh.
Right. The next thing.
Emily came to our wedding.
Oh, cool. Right. The next thing is adding visuals and other media. So in a similar ilk, you need to keep people interested, and also Google likes this. You need to add in visuals. Visuals work. You know, that visual of the parent and child pages helped me to explain it. It captures the attention, but also other media, maybe recordings of webinars, podcasts, videos are great. We've done some work recently with a lead generation company. We're working on their SEO, and we're producing 4 articles, good articles a month, alongside other things as well. And with those articles, we had one of the guys in, and we recorded some of the sections for people to listen to if they wanted to. And those articles have quickly gone up to, one of them's gone up to the top 10 for something that attracts, it's position 10 at the moment, for something that attracts 800 searches on average per month in the UK, which is incredible. So we're now taking the next step and thinking, well, how can we push that further, make it even better, and try and create some links through to it. And we believe it's down to the visuals and the other media that we included. So don't just think about the words. Try and use that blog to create other media, whether it's images, podcasts, videos. We take as an example, it's quite similar. Our internal marketing, our marketing is set up in such a way whereby we focus on Lunch and Learn every single month. So Rebecca will go through, we'll pick a topic, you'll write a blog about it. That blog will then feed through to Lunch and Learn. We're recording it, so we've got 3 cameras on us, 2 cameras on us today. Miscounted, can't count today. We're recording it, and that content then will then be pushed out on socials. It will be sliced up and pushed out on socials for people to kind of revisit over the month. So everything links through to this one article, this one topic that we have. There's no reason why you can't do the same thing. Create an article, then create media, other media about it. It can feed through to social, then it can feed through to email marketing, all these different elements. But add in visuals and other media. The next thing is adding in relatable case studies. Everyone will have worked. If you've got a service that you're pushing, unless you're a new business, everyone will have produced that service, worked on that service for a particular business. So add in a case study. Now, case studies in their own right aren't necessarily going to rank as easily as a service page or an article, because it's not necessarily going to answer the question unless it is an incredibly good case study. But what it does do is if you have a case study on a separate page, it gives you the opportunity to add another section in. So we're talking about these different sections that create best on the web content for your service pages. It allows you to add in another section which talks about how you implemented that service in a positive way for a particular client. And that gives you more content to write, essentially. You don't copy over the content you've produced for the case study. You write it in context with the page that it is displayed on. So you can include, I mean, a lot of this comes down to keywords and relatable keywords and adding those in. You don't want a keyword flood, but it's about creating content that is relatable to the topic that you want to appear on Google for. And by rewriting sections of case studies and making them relevant and then linking through to other pages on the website, you create this web of content. We talked about child pages. You create this web of content that adds value across your website. So case studies are another great way of talking about the service, the topic, the product, whatever that might be, adding in testimonials, adding in that trust factor and that relevancy. It's a no-brainer for me, adding case studies in. And a lot of people miss that bit. And I've mentioned briefly there, adding in specific reviews. So I've never been a fan of adding in handwritten testimonials on a website. However, they do add value, but I just don't think they add value as much as linking in your Google reviews or Trustpilot reviews. What we have, one of the tips I would give any company, whether they're a legal company, web company, whatever you do, is add in testimonials that come from a third party, because it adds that trust factor, and they're very specific. So let's say you use Trustpilot, you can embed Trustpilot reviews onto your website, and you can actually categorize them off so you can tag certain reviews. So if a review has come in for your family law team, as an example, and you can tag that as family law and only have those reviews appear on your website. So when people are going down, it not just adds good content, but it adds relevant content as well, relatable content. And people within that review might be talking about a specific person. This links back again to someone in the specific team. It adds that kind of user value. It creates that positive user experience, which in turn keeps people on the website longer. So add in specific reviews. If like most of the businesses out there, WordPress is the platform of choice. There is a plugin which you can use to pull in Google reviews. It looks great on your website. And again, you can pull in relevant Google reviews there. I think it's a premium plugin if you want to pull in relevant ones. But if you want to just pull them all in, it's just it's a free plugin. So it's worth doing. If you've got TripAdvisor, they would they add that in as part of the package, I believe.
FIFO do it as well.
The FIFO do it as well.
I think so, yeah. They definitely have the relevant things so you can tag it.
Okay, cool. So there you go. Add in specific reviews. Again, all of this, you've got 6 new sections now. You've got your links to child pages, the team, frequently asked questions. You've got your covering the actual topic in depth. That's the section. Visuals and other media, so videos maybe. That's another section. Case studies, reviews. You've got 7 sections to create the king of all pages. And this is what it's all about. And then finally, including relevant articles. So if you're going through and creating articles, which we're going to come on to in a second, I need to watch the time. I've gone on for a while on this.
You're okay. You're okay. I'll tell you if you need to.
Bex will start dancing in the background or something.
And you will see it.
I know, yeah. What should you do? So if you're creating articles, make sure you include relevant articles on that page. Again, I've talked about law, solicitors, legal, marketing quite a lot today. I'm going to link back to that again. On the websites we create for solicitors and legal firms, we have somewhere, whether it's a sidebar or a section, we have relevant content for that topic. So again, coming back to family law, it might be an article on, I'm getting divorced, how do we split the house? Or my husband has asked me to get divorced, but I don't want to. What do I do? So it's articles that are relevant to that topic, but may not fit in with the service that you're providing. It's relevant to the service, but you can't necessarily answer that. It's an article in itself. You can't necessarily answer that within that service page. It's not necessarily relevant per se. It's an offshoot. It's an offshoot topic, let's say. So you want to include them as well. And within that, you can include a snippet of the content that becomes relevant. And then people can navigate to that as well. If you've got these internal links are quite key in SEO. If you've got these links coming from a blog through to a service page and vice versa, that is going to help rank your pages in a positive way. Google's going to find out, okay, what's this relevant to? What's that one? We'll rank that on par with that. So parent-child pages, link in the specific team, add FAQs, cover the topic in depth, one of the most important things, add visuals and other media, add relatable case studies, add specific reviews, and include relevant articles. If you do that on every single page and child page you create, you will have one heck of a website. And as long as the topic is covered in depth, as long as it's good, readable content, you will rank. It will take time, but you will rank. What you essentially want to do is create a hub of information. I've highlighted hub there because when you're creating, whether it's a page or an article, it needs to be a hub of information. You need to give people the information on what they've actually searched for in a really readable form, in a really user-friendly form, but you need to assume that they want information on other pieces as well. So you give them access to other pieces. It's like going into a library. When you go into a library and you find a book, you'll look along the shelf at the other books that are in that category and topic. You might take other things out. Create a hub of information. That's what your website's all about.
It demonstrates how knowledgeable you are about a subject as well. You know, if you just have one page on there and you said, we do this service and people are going to spend a lot of money on it. If you have 10 articles or pages and all of this different information and everything that's all working together, it proves way more that you know what you're talking about than one page with barely any information on would do.
I'm really glad that at the start of this webinar, Rebecca came round here and showed her face, because for all you guys sat there, if that hadn't happened, for all you knew, I might have just turned really high pitched. Yeah, no, it's a good point, Rebecca. Right, moving on to our second point, making your articles the best on the web. Now we've covered the first bit in quite a lot of depth. This is going to take into account some of that. So some stuff that we can gloss over here, but there are some things that are a little bit different. So let's just jump into this. Right, I think the first thing that's important is defining them. What do I mean by this? Well, you've got different definitions of an article on a website, I believe. And some people just call it a blog and they just have every article under there. It's just a blog. Some people call them articles, some people call them news, resources. Typically, when people call them resources, they will then include subcategories of resources. So then it will be downloads, it will be articles, it will be news pieces, it'll be blogs. And I just want you to think, first of all, how do you define the articles you create? Blogs for me are opinion pieces. News is internal, industry-based. Articles are more long-form, educational, knowledge-based, knowledge hub-based things. And then you've got downloads, which could be PDF downloads that you put in.
Like insights.
Could
be statistics or reports that you run.
Absolutely. There are a number of different ways of defining articles. So define them first. And the reason why I say that is if you can define them and you can have a hub of information, a resources section, and split them off into that, it will help you create more content because you're creating opinion-based content, insights and articles, education-based stuff, news-based stuff. You can define them better and create more of it. And secondly, it's better for the user. They know what to expect when they visit a certain section of the website. They know they're going to get educational pieces. They know they're going to get industry news. They know they're going to get internal oh, we've got a new office, or we've decorated our hair. I'm not sure why that would lend itself to a news piece, but who knows?
Maybe it should.
Maybe it should. Yeah, maybe we should go shouting
It
out
helps
about
you
the many colours of-
it helps you identify your content gaps as well. So if you're doing a load of blogs and you realize that actually what you are writing is mostly opinion pieces, and you could really do with adding some industry news in there, or maybe you've thought about your knowledge a knowledge gap that you're sorry, Dave's running around. I think he's back. Right, the laptop's running out of battery. Okay, it's fine. For fire, and he just had told me. So it helps you identify knowledge gaps. So if you're writing a lot about blogs, writing lots of blogs, and you're not really giving out any statistical information, then maybe that helps you identify, well, actually, I haven't done anything that is based on like insights, or I want to give out some resources, but no one's downloading them from my blog. So maybe I should have a resource tab instead that says, here are some free downloadable reports we've run. Because apart from anything, even though we're all in marketing, most people still don't actually know what a blog is. And if they see blog written on a website, they're not going to look at it. Even if they're a customer and they're looking for information, if it says articles, if it said knowledge hub, if it says resource section, you're more likely for people to click on them. Most of the time, people will find your articles and everything by searching a topic on Google, and then they get sent that as they get shown that as a result that they click on. But if they are on your website and you want them to find information out, and you're trying to appeal to certain people, if you want investors, then having an investors section and resources and insights about how good your company's doing needs to be defined on the website as a separate section to your opinion articles on what you're up to, or your news on what you're up to in the office. So that's
Cool, thank you. And yes, I was just running around because 6 months ago it might have been a year ago actually, we ran a lunch and learn, and the battery ran out on the laptop, and the whole webinar went down, and it was chaotic. So when I just had flash up, your battery's about to die, I was like it. I meant to plug it in earlier, but I didn't for some strange reason. Cool. So thank you, Rebecca. Adding frequently asked questions. Again, they shouldn't just be for your article. They should for your pages. They should be for your article as well, and make them specific. Adding relevant case studies as well. You don't necessarily need a section for it, but there's no reason why you can't refer to case study examples and link through to them in an article.
Mm-hmm.
I said I'm going to gloss over a few of these because some of them do apply to both of them in their own weird way. Cover your topic in depth. Again, it's about making sure that the topic that you have chosen, the article title, is covered in depth. And what you should do, you should never go into an article, and I love the fact that I say what you should do, you should never. What you should not do is go into writing an article and just think, well, I'm just going to write an article about this. Plan it out, structure it out, find out the questions that people are asking around that particular topic. It's again about having that kind of parent and child approach. What's the parent topic? Cover that. And then within the article, what are the offshoots? What are the child-based questions that people are asking around that topic? What are the alternate relevant questions people are asking, and try and get them answered as well. So plan your topic and cover it in depth. Again, add visuals and other media. There's no reason why when you're writing an article, you shouldn't
Don't just make it words.
Don't just make it words. What's the word? Rehash. There's no reason why you shouldn't just rehash that into a video or into a podcast or something along those lines, where people who consume information in a different way might want to watch that. And also having that on your website, Google's going to love that. So adding other visuals, if you've got images, add in alt text. If you've got infographics people link to, that might create a link. Videos, Google loves that. Make sure you add in other visuals and other media. Link to other areas of your website. There's so many people who create really good articles and they don't link to other areas, specific areas of the website. So if you're creating an article about, again, going back to family law, just because it's the topic of the day, isn't it? Let's say you create an article and the article is, my husband's just asked for a divorce, what do I do? Within that article, you're going to talk about family law at some point. So make sure you add a link to your family law page, the specific service you're talking about. And the anchor text, now by anchor text, we mean the words that create the hyperlink. So the hyperlink is behind those words. That's anchor text. Your anchor text should be something relevant to that page. So it might be family law, for example. If it's marital finances, it might be marital finances. And that is the hyperlink through to the marital finances page. Make sure it's relevant.
Just
So
no
link the
right
other-
click here. That's what you're
Don't
saying.
do the click here.
Yeah.
Make sure the anchor text, because the click here would be the anchor text. So make sure the anchor text is specific to the page you're going through to. If it's, let's say, to a contact page, then it can be something like you can click here to contact our Northampton family law team, as an example. And that's where you hyperlink Northampton family law. Bex is going mad in the background.
Trying to draw your attention to the time.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We're doing fine for time, I think. Finally, this is what's a little bit different to the service pages, because the service pages don't give you an opportunity to add personality. You need to be straight down the line. They need to be professional, well written. But certain articles, and again, it depends on how you define them, first of all, because news-based articles, education articles might not lend themselves to you adding personality, but an opinion piece or a blog certainly does. So add in personality, because by getting your personality across, people are more likely to read that article. I certainly read articles that have a certain way about them that it makes me want to continue reading. So they've got a bit of a personality behind them. You can almost you can gauge the personality of the author by reading that article. It's like reading a book. By adding that element of personality, people are more likely to read them, stay on the article for longer, and again, Google's going to love that. So add that personality. I mean, this is me assuming that you guys have personality. It's not for me to say. But add in that personality, it will help. So we're going to come across the ideas and inspiration, and this is the final bit. So we're okay for time, I think. We've got 8 or 9 minutes left. So we talked about your pages and your articles. I mean, technically speaking, all of this applies to every part of your website to make and create the best content on the web. But this is where we're going to talk about, like, are there any ideas and inspiration that you can take on board to help that happen? Because we're talking about the kind of structure, the different elements. Any ideas we can talk about to make that happen? So first of all, the first thing I want to say is don't abandon old content. Old content still ranks. There are so many people out there who will write an article and leave it for 3 years and think, that's it, done, not relevant anymore. Not at all. That article is likely to be ranking, and with some small tweaks, whether that be adding FAQs, just changing it, making it more relevant based on, the here and now, adding in a case study, a more relevant case study, or just changing certain bits, it could give it that boost it needs to attract 100 new visitors. And 100 new visitors could result in 1, 2, 3 new clients. You just don't know that. So don't abandon old content. It's actually the easiest content to rank better across the website. So if you haven't applied these best on the web content pieces of advice to old content, go and do that first. Have a look at your old content. It's already sitting there. It's already ranking. It will help it to rank better. I can pretty much guarantee that. And we don't guarantee a lot in the SEO industry. So I can pretty much guarantee that if you make some tweaks, add in some of the stuff we've mentioned today, you can help that content rank better. Use your own personal experiences. Again, this kind of comes down to the work you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It comes down to case studies. But when you're writing, either in case studies, whether you're writing on articles, however you define them, blogs, whatever it might be, use your own personal experience. Link back to the work that you've done and what has worked in your experience. So in our experience, we would be talking about what has worked from an SEO perspective. So we've had articles that have performed far better in the past because they have other media on them, like video. So we would talk about that in an article, for example. How do you rank? How do you create better on the web, best on the web content? You create other media. you get the guys in, you talk in front of camera, and you create better media. So use your own post experiences as well to add value to that content. Use other tools. There's tools like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is great. Now, I would highly recommend that if you use ChatGPT or any AI, you use it to research and plan your content. You don't use it to write your content. In my personal opinion, it's not sophisticated enough to write content in such a form where it is going to be the best on the web content. In order to do that, you have to, there are ways of getting it almost to that point, but you have to spend so much time almost coaching ChatGPT or some of these AI tools to be able to write in your language, in your style.
But it's
I
a
would,
tool for generating ideas.
it's great for generating ideas. ChatGPT is great for generating ideas, inspiration, what people are asking. There's loads you can use it for.
Just things you might not have thought of, and quicker than you researching it yourself.
Exactly. It will summarize the stuff. It saves you on search stuff. But then also use Google. Use Google, because if you start typing into Google a certain question, it will come up with certain stuff. It will make suggested searches. So it might come up with some of your child topics that you want to include on an article. So use tools such as ChatGPT, Answer the Public, Google itself. There's SEO tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush. There's various tools there that will help you do what you help inspire you as to what content you should be including, creating, adding in.
Even Canva and CapCut and like social media creation tools have got templates that you can take inspiration from and even use or rehash. But like if you want to make an infographic, go on Canva and have a look at the infographics they've got on there, and especially in this particular subject, and that can really help you out.
Absolutely. Use forums. Find out what's been asked. You go to Reddit's great for this. Go to Reddit, ask questions on that topic, and you will find the kind of questions that are being asked by the user. And 9 times out of 10, that's all you want to answer. You know, especially from an article perspective, you are looking to answer questions, because when people are searching for stuff, typically they're questions. So use forums, use Facebook groups. You might need to do a bit of digging around that.
Facebook groups, though, I mean, most people ask the same questions on there over and over and over again. So you can find out what the most frequently asked questions are by going on a Facebook group for a particular subject.
Absolutely.
And then write articles about it.
Reddit, for me, Reddit's great. Reddit
yeah.
is the one, because that's the one that asks the questions. I mean, they both do, but Reddit's just, it's instant. You can find instant questions on there. You can find instant answers as well. And you can hook those answers in to your content. Someone answered this, I recommend that, or I don't recommend that, or I would tweak it in this kind of way.
Yeah.
So utilize it. And that's another great way of creating best on the web content. One of the key things for me is keeping a very close eye on the competition. How do you create best on the web content? You can't physically create best on the web content if you don't know what the best on the web content is, because you can't compare. It's like running 100 meters. How do you know if you're going to win 100 meters in the Olympics if you don't know what the current time is going to be, or there or thereabouts? You might think 11 seconds is great. If you don't know that actually people are doing sub 10, you're never going to be able to improve that level. So keep a close eye on the competition. Look at the pages, look at the articles that they create, look at the content they create across the board. Subscribe to their newsletters. And like I said, just keep a close eye on them, because you don't want to copy them. You can gain inspiration from them, gain inspiration from the content that they're providing, and you can write it in a far better way. So keep close eye on the competition. That's one of my big things. That's the real kind of key thing. If you don't do that, you're going to get nowhere with this. Make sure you keep an eye on your competition. They'll be keeping an eye on you, by the way.
Yeah.
And finally, be controversial and get your personality across. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't really do it on your service pages. But if you want to create best on the web content and it's article based, it's opinion based, be controversial, because that's what's going to generate views, and that's what's going to get people staying on that article for longer and reading that article for longer. They might not necessarily agree with it. Guarantee they're going to read it and get that personality across, as I said earlier today, because if you've got a good writing style, then more people are likely to read your content based on your writing style, and they're more likely to read your content to the end if you're if the early sections of your content is interesting to read, if you're getting that personality across. So be controversial and get your personality across. One of the great ways of creating best on the web content, because people are more likely to read it. I have loads of stuff in the way here, so I can't read this. So
on the web content involves you creating content that is better than what already exists.
that's basically it. You know, if you want to create best on the web content and rank higher than your competitors and get more visitors, which will hopefully result in more leads, then creating best on the web content simply involves you creating better content than what already exists. And you can do that by doing everything that I've mentioned today, by sectioning down your service pages, adding in different elements, by looking at your competition, by getting your personality across, by being controversial, by answering the topic in depth. The key thing for me here is looking at your competitors. And I will finish on one thing. When you look at your competitors, when you're trying to work out what is the best on the web content, how can I be better than the content that's already out there? Don't just look at your immediate competitors. There are two types of competitors. There's your competitor. So we've got competitors around us here. We've got a web agency just down the road from us, SEO agency that do exactly what we do. But they're not a web-based competitor because they don't rank as highly as us on search. So they don't take into account search as much. That's not one of their things. And so be it. If that's not one of their things, that's fine. So the competitors we're looking at is your web-based competitor. So it's the people that are appearing higher in the search than you are. So don't just look at your direct competitors, look at competitors in the search.
Yeah, there's loads of tools and stuff that you can use to access that kind of information so you can see it more visually. If you have access to those kind of tools like Ahrefs and stuff like that, they're very useful.
Cool. Thank you. And that's it for today. So our next Lunch and Learn, TBC. So we take a break in August, partly because I think I'm not away, but I'm close to going away. And it's the summer holidays. We don't get as many people on it. So we'll take a break for August. We'll be back in September. If you've got any questions, ask them now, type them quickly. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining, guys. And you'll see some of this go out on social over the month. So please engage with it. Please follow our page. We do this for free. So if you want to work with us, come and work with us. We certainly know our stuff. Hopefully we've got that across today. And please bear in mind, this was off the back of me forgetting it was Lunch and Learn. I mean, rushing into the office at 10:15 after working from home. So luckily, I'm a mile down the road. But this is because we know our stuff. I've literally been able to recite the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis. Any questions, give us a shout. Thank you so much.